All right. Hey, everyone. This is Joshua Johnson, CTO of Tree Industries. I'm really excited to be here today to do a little live demonstration. Really appreciate everybody that's been following us about the disc golf game. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We posted it around, and we're going to be doing a live demonstration for a really unique concept for virtual production. So Unreal Engine is used a lot for game development, but it's also used in things like real-time displays and nowadays actual real-time virtual production environments. And with that, with Unreal Engine 4.23 that came out recently, they included a very, very cool web control API. And that basically allows you to adjust things a lot more simply than having the actual editor open on Unreal Engine. So what you can do with that is essentially create an app or some other type of tool and include things like little sliders. So if you want to change things in the scene during a production environment, you can do that a lot more quickly, and you don't have to have people that are trained on the actual engine itself. So this could be producers, directors, anybody involved with art direction and things like that to have a much handier tool to change things on the fly without needing to know actual engine development. And for us, when I saw that come out, I was like, wow, this is such a cool feature and saw a lot of potential with it. So we kind of started tinkering around and kind of thought, what can we do that's a little bit different and also combines some of the other things that we're working on here at Tree. And so one of those things is artificial intelligence and the power of voice, so smart assistant technology essentially. And we do a lot of work on that on the open source side. We create skills for the open source AI platform Mycroft. And it's such a cool architecture that they have set up for building custom smart assistant technology. And so it's kind of a whole ecosystem for natural language processing, text to speech, speech to text, all those different things. And so we had the idea, can we combine Unreal Engine with its new web control API and Mycroft and essentially unlock the power of voice for Unreal Engine virtual production environments. So rather than have a tablet and having sliders and things like that, could a director or producer just have some type of headset on and actually drive a real-time environment through a voice assistant? And so with that, we spent a little bit of time kind of looking at the web control API and the Mycroft side of things and kind of came up with a unique proof of concept, and that's essentially what I'm going to be demonstrating today. So let me hop over here. Okay. So this is a scene that we have set up that has specific assets and objects that we know exist in the scene. And what we've done is now went over to Mycroft, and it's a Python API, and essentially started looking at what assets we could change on the fly, and that means at runtime. If you're not familiar with what that means when the engine is running, not just in the editor itself. So what we looked at first was really the sky for this scene. And we created some what we call intents, and if you're not familiar with that, is in a smart assistant ecosystem like Mycroft and natural language processing and things like that. An intent is essentially a phrase or a set of text that determines what you want to happen, and that's how the artificial intelligence will determine what it needs to do with the scene. Okay. So what I'm going to demonstrate first here is just simply changing the time of day. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate our smart assistant that's going to be helping us out today, Ezra. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay, hopefully you all can hear her okay. Please let me know in chat if you cannot hear my assistant next to me. If I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume everything's good, and we're going to go ahead and move forward with the test itself. Hey, Ezra. set the time to 4:30 p.m. All right, there we go. So that was pretty easy. You can see I did not click on anything. There's no sliders. I was just able to use natural language and essentially change what's happening in the scene in real time. We'll try a couple more just so everybody can get a good look at how this works. Let's see this go over here. Hey Ezra, change the time to 6 a.m.
An error occurred while processing the
I have to say set the time, not change the time. So some of this is still early, and we definitely haven't fine-tuned all the natural language processing. We'll try that again, though. Hey, Ezra, set the time to 6 a.m. Okay, there we go. So if you're, in like producing a commercial or something like that, or maybe even a movie, being able to change the scene on the fly, to go from like artboards to that could really save a lot of time between, having to go back between the development team and your engineers to set up that scene. And so that could really, create a lot of efficiency in the production environment. Now, obviously, this is just a proof of concept. We haven't really talked to anybody about how this might work, in a production setting, but we think it's pretty cool. We're going to be talking to some people. If you know anybody that's interested in this type of tech, definitely send them our way. Okay, so we've done the time, and one thing I want to note is that with the natural language processing, we can actually just say 6:30 p.m., 7 a.m., and we don't have to really work too hard to get it to understand. And that comes with the power of the Mycroft side of things. So again, with their smart assistant architecture, it already has things like extracting dates and times from natural language. This is really cool. So that was pretty simple in itself to, be able to naturally say the time of day, get that into what we need to send it over through the Web Control API across our local network. I think I want to try that just a couple more times, and then we're going to try essentially implementing a function. So we have a function that we've created in the engine side of things, and we're going to initiate that function through voice. Let's get the right time of day set here first. Get a little more sun in here. Hey Ezra, set the time to 8:30 a.m. Okay, so what we've done is we've created a sequence, so kind of like a cinematic, that we're going to actually trigger by voice now. Hey Ezra, activate sequence 1. Again, as you can see, that was completely hands-free. We'll just let us go through this little cinematic real quick. So with about 5 lines of code, we're able to make that sequence begin just by voice. And that's really powerful. So it's not a complicated set of code. The Web Control API is pretty simple in itself in terms of how it works. And Mycroft has a really good architecture for creating all types of natural language intents and things like that. And actually, we could do a lot more.
I'm not sure I understood you.
Sorry, I guess I accidentally triggered her there. Okay. She kind of got me off track, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and change the time, and we'll do that sequence one more. Give that one more go. And maybe we'll try sunset this time. Hey Ezra, set the time to 5:30 p.m. Hey Ezra, activate sequence 1. So if you're in a production environment and you have multiple angles and multiple camera cuts that you need to have, essentially your engineering team can set up all those sequences and cinematics, and then really with a few simple lines of code, you can now make sure that your actual production team and your director can trigger those things on the fly if you have like a big in display in terms of an actual production environment. Obviously, we're just showing it on a monitor here, so uh, nowadays in these production environments, in real-time production, they're utilizing Unreal Engine on kind of these big, what they call end displays. So it kind of creates an actual more realistic feel for the cameras and backdrops and all that. So as I said, this is pretty early work, and we're going to continue to add more to this particular scene kind of as a demo. This was just the first demonstration, and hopefully we can get a lot more dynamic with the functionality as we move forward with this kind of side project. Things like we could set up different cinematic cameras around the scene, and then essentially you could say something like go to next camera, go to previous camera, all by voice, and you can set up these different angles right there to, I guess, in a production environment, you might film from a different angle, then switch, film another one, and this can help you get to post a lot quicker. And you know, as I said, we don't know in terms of how much efficiency this would create. It's still very early. Hopefully, we can talk to some people in the industry and really see where something like this might fit. So, hopefully, we'll get a chance to do that. We definitely think it's a unique and cool proof of concept that combines two really great technologies. And one of the things about Mycroft on the smart assistant side of how this works is everything's done very privately. So we're not using Amazon for this as far as Alexa. We're not using Google Home integration. It's a completely open source smart assistant platform that fully respects your privacy, and that's hard to beat nowadays. So it's a project we definitely suggest. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. You can download it and run it on any Linux machine, but they're also coming out with a full like commercial smart assistant called the Mark II. Definitely recommend anybody that's kind of into artificial intelligence but kind of worried about their privacy, check out that project. That's mycroft.ai. I think that pretty much shows the two main features that we have plugged into the Smart Assistant architecture. So hopefully in a few more weeks, we'll be able to show some enhanced functionality. Have a lot going on with the disc golf game. This is kind of more of a side project, but we're going to continue to just, as we have a little bit of free time here and there, continue to make this more dynamic and be able to do so many things in real time by voice. And I think this is really just the beginning. So when I was thinking about this, I always try to think divergently. I thought virtual production, yeah, that's a pretty cool scenario for technology like this. But you could also see it opening up into things like real-time displays. So if you think theme parks, zoos, other attractions where they're now kind of building these real-time visual environments, now you could actually like load different levels in terms of a display. So if you had a grasslands with animals as opposed to an aquarium, if you're trying to show these different types of things, if you're some kind of guide or something. So I think that would be a really cool implementation of this technology. Some type of guide at an attraction has a headset, and then they're communicating with this real-time display. And in the end, anything that is exposed to blueprints and or functions is essentially able to now be changed by voice with this integration that we've created. So, but we're going to continue to develop it out and just kind of see where it goes. It's been pretty fun on this one so far. I'm just going to kind of explore a little bit and maybe change the sunlight, change the time a few more times. If anybody's got any questions about this tech and how we built it, where we're going with it, definitely feel free to drop that in chat. We appreciate it and happy to answer. Okay, so we've got a question from Maximilian here on YouTube. Any chance to control the sequencer yet? That's a great question. I'm not sure if the Web Control API can currently control the sequencer. I know that we're activating a sequence by voice. Now, I would say that anything that you can do to control a sequence through blueprints should technically be possible. That's something we might have to test out. I appreciate that question. It definitely gets me thinking about something else we can try. So next time we do a video about this, I'll make sure to do a little update if we're able to figure something out. Just thinking here. I know we should definitely be able to stop the sequence too. I know right now we only have it to where you can activate it, but definitely pause and play and switch sequences should all be doable through voice with the current setup, as far as what I know works with the Web Control API. Hey Ezra, change the time to 2:30 p.m.
An error occurred while processing a request in voice backdrop.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, let's try that again. Hey Ezra, change the time. I said change the set.
Sorry, I don't understand.
That was my bad. Sorry. Hey Ezra, set the time to 2:30 p.m. Okay, so worked on the second try there. So I'll have to look at that. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it's working. I'd say it works about 95% of the time on that function. You're welcome, Maximilian. We appreciate the question. I'm sure there's a lot more that can be done with it as well. We've only had so much time to implement different functions and play with different asset properties, because you kind of have with the Web Control API two different ways to change things right now. You have a call, which is essentially how you change a function, and then you have a property, and that is how you change basically a blueprint exposed variable on a specific asset. Looks like we got a couple new viewers. Appreciate you joining us today. Again, this is Joshua Johnson, CTO of Tree Industries. I do a lot of the think tanking here at Tree in terms of what technology we're going to pursue, and kind of taking that to our CEO, and she kind of, she's more the bead counter and determines what we're going to pursue. And luckily she, let us have a little bit of time to experiment with this just because it was so unique. As of right, up to this point, I have not seen anything on Twitter or any, Reddits that shows this type of voice control over Unreal Engine. So, how well that would work, I've said that a couple times now, in a real-time environment, in a real production environment, who's to say? But we have to, unlock that door and walk through it first. So that's what we wanted to do with this, is give it a shot and kind of put it out there, get some more ideas and feedback, and then see where it goes. See if anybody's interested in picking up the technology and talking to us about it, which we're definitely open to. Hey Ezra, activate sequence 1. For anybody just joining us, I'm essentially activating a cinematic by voice through an integration that we have with the open source smart assistant Mycroft AI and the new Web Control API from Unreal Engine. And if you want to try out the Web Control API for yourself, just make sure you have engine version 4.23 or later. and I do believe it's still considered beta. Okay. And I know we have to change the focal point, the blur on that end of that cinematic a little bit. But that is one thing that I guess I should go ahead and mention. So with Unreal Engine, uh, post-processing settings are now exposed to blueprints. I'm not sure how long it's been like that. I think it's been like that for a little while. Okay, we got another question from Max here on YouTube. Can you change the name of the voice assistant? Can you share contact information? In terms of the name for the smart assistant, you can definitely change the wake word, is what they call that. So, uh, Mycroft AI is a very, very flexible platform for artificial intelligence. If you get a chance to check it out, like I said, I'll go ahead and link it in chat here. 1 second. Okay, so like I said, that's open source and based on Python. As far as all the voice powered stuff, they do have a user interface that they kind of just started working on here this past year, which is really cool, but not based on Python. But all the natural language processing, speech to text stuff is powered by Python. And if you sign up for a Mycroft account, they actually will handle controlling a lot of the kind of setups. So changing the wake word you can do through the online account if you set one up there, but you can also do it through configuration files. If you download Mycroft and you don't want to set up an account with them, you can just download it, load it on pretty much anything that runs Linux, essentially. So it's a Linux powered smart assistant. Sorry. So yeah, as far as our wake word, that's something that we use in a lot of our products, but it's pretty easy to change it, whether you do it through the online account or you download it and kind of change the configuration file. Um, I guess I should go ahead and add that with Mycroft, you can easily change the speech to text options through kind of the default configuration file. So Max is asking, do they have a cloud option? So I can take a second to explain that. Um, Mycroft's really flexible, like I said, in terms of what types of processing for speech that you use. So they have already working integrations for a range of speech to text. So I think the default one actually still uses Google, but if you sign up for an account through Mycroft and you kind of pair your device through kind of their services, they control that. And what they do is they act as a privacy layer. So your requests for Google are mixed with all of their other tens of thousands of users already, and that's a growing number. But that's kind of the default option in terms of plug and play. So that does currently by default use a cloud option. But you can also easily use IBM Watson, Deep Speech, which is a open source speech to text engine powered by, or built by, I should say, Mozilla. And that's a really cool project because that one can eventually process offline on like a GPU. Um, it's not quite good enough yet for Mycroft to use as a default, but hopefully one day that would be a great option as well. So, like I said, Mycroft already has all those integrations in place, so you can kind of pick, but you can also just use the default one. That's pretty easy. I appreciate the questions, Max. Those are great questions. Okay. I think that, about wraps up the demo. We had a few viewers. I want to appreciate everybody that joins us. Thanks for the great questions, Max. I think that will about wrap it up here. We're going on about 30 minutes. And this was just going to be a short one, like I said, to demonstrate this proof of concept. So please share it around. And if you know anybody in the industry that, wants to discuss, the power of what this technology might be able to do for them, have them reach out to us at Tree. We're definitely happy to have that conversation, and we want to see this technology kind of spread further. Voice and the environment around you is definitely quickly becoming the new user interface. Yeah, we can definitely share the contact information for Tree. 1 second here, Max. I'll go ahead and link our website. And we have a contact form on our website that you can use. And we appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Okay, let me just check the chat one more time here. I'm going to check my notes here, see if I had anything else written down. I think that about does it. So stay tuned for the next round of updates for this proof of concept. It's still very early in development. I think that we're going to have some really, really cool features the next time that we do a demo. You are welcome, Max. I appreciate you sticking around. I think you were here for most of the streams. So hopefully this was something interesting to you. And, please feel free to subscribe to Tree. We're definitely doing a lot on the artificial intelligence and, IoT, blockchain, really a lot of the emerging technologies. And one thing that we're doing here is always trying to be divergent and look at how can we put unique technologies together to make things more efficient. But also, it's about how we do it. So, privacy, open source, those are our standards and the pillars of what we do. And accessibility is another big one. So, it's really about how we go about implementing and putting technology out there for public consumption. So, hopefully, if those things sound good to you, please feel free to follow us. We're going to be doing a lot more, and we're just getting started. So, hope everybody has a great Tuesday. Thanks again, and until next time, see you later.